Today we will see what is inflation. Consider you kept 10 lakh rupees in a locker and after 6 years, when you open it, to your surprise, there are only 6 lakh rupees left. So how did this happen? This happened because of inflation. When I was a kid, I used to buy one Kit Kat at 10 rupees. But now, after 15 years, for the same Kit Kat, I will have to pay rupees 20. So this is because of inflation. In simple terms, inflation is decline in purchasing power of money over the period of time. How inflation is measured? There are two types of inflation based on how it is measured. First is CPI, which is Consumer Price Index, and second is WPI, which is Wholesale Price Index. So we will not go into the details of these two, but basically basket of products consumed on a regular basis like milk, wheat, onions, bread, etc. is taken into consideration, and the cost of this basket is compared with its cost previous year. The percentage increase in cost is nothing but rate of inflation. So now we know that due to inflation, money will lose value, and to calculate how much value of money is left after a certain period of time, let's say you have 1 crore rupees. Now with 9% inflation practically, how much value will be left after for say 8 years? So there is one simple formula for that to calculate the approximate value of money that will be left after a certain period of time. And this is rule of 72. So if you divide 72 with the rate of inflation, which is practically 9% in our case, so 72 divided by 9, which gives 8. So roughly after 8 years, your 1 crore rupees will lose approximately half of its value due to inflation. So now, after 8 years, you will be able to buy goods worth 50 lakh rupees 8 years back. So now we will see how many types of inflation are there based on the cause of inflation. So there are two types of inflation based on cause of inflation. First is cost push inflation, which is also called as supply shock, and the second is demand pull inflation. When the cost of the product goes up because of increase in labor wages or increase in electricity bill or cost of transportation because of hikes in fuel prices and etc., it is cost push inflation. So basically cost of production is increasing and hence the price of products are increasing. So this is cost push inflation. And the second is demand pull inflation. When the taxes are lower and interest rates are also lower, so what people will do is people will start buying more. So there is an increase in demand but the supply is constant. So this is nothing but demand pull inflation. There is one more reason why inflation occurs. This is due to printing of excess money. So we will see what actually happens when government prints extra money and why it leads to inflation. Whenever the government prints extra money, the value of that particular currency goes down. So how exactly it happens? Suppose if a particular country has 100 rupees worth of goods and 100 rupees worth of currency notes in circulation. So now if government decides to print more 100 rupees notes, and when these currency notes come into circulation, then the total number of paper currency notes in circulation would be 200 rupees, but the resources that country is having will still be 100 rupees worth. So now the people are having more money in hands, but the resources are constant. So there is an increase in demand as people are willing to pay more prices for the same resources. So people are ready to pay rupees 20 for the things which they were ready to pay rupees 10 before the extra currency notes came into circulation. So in this way, the prices of products increases if the government prints extra money, and this leads to inflation. Consider an example of an airline company. In a flight, there are 20 business class seats of price 10,000 rupees and 50 economy class seats of price 5,000 rupees. So when more paper currency is printed, extra money is left in the hands of people. So now the people with 5,000 rupees budget will have 10,000 rupees and the people with 10,000 rupees budget will have 20,000 rupees. So now everyone wants to go in business class as everyone has a budget of 10,000 rupees. So there is a demand for 70 business class seats, but there are only 20 business class seats. So people are willing to pay more for the same seat. So there are 20 people whose budget is now 20,000. So they will offer 20,000 rupees for the same seat which they were getting for 10,000 before the extra currency notes were printed. And in this way, the price of airplane tickets has increased due to excess money printing. And the purchasing power of money is decreased due to inflation caused by excess money printing. Do you even know if your money is safe from inflation or inflation is eating up your money? The bitter fact is, people who are least aware of inflation, that is poor and middle class, are affected the most by inflation. We know that inflation will keep decreasing the purchasing power of money irrespective of you being rich or poor. Then why is it so that inflation will only affect poor and middle class and the rich are least affected by inflation? It is because most of the money the poor and middle class are having is limited and is required in the near future. So they cannot invest their money for long term in safe assets for better returns. And they are forced to invest it in FDs and to hold cash. And they prefer to invest their money in FDs at a rate of 5 to 6% interest, or they simply prefer to hold cash. And this is the reason why inflation affects the poor and middle class, as cash will lose its value over the period of time due to inflation. Whereas rich and upper class people invest their most of the net worth and income in assets which are capable to beat inflation and also generate some alpha over it, which increases their wealth over the time. This is the main reason why we often hear rich getting richer and poor getting poorer. And same goes with nature of income. Most of the poor and middle class are having jobs, and we know that salaried income is never an inflation-proof income. Whereas rich own businesses and real estate, most of which will provide inflation-proof income. What if I tell you that this inflation can be controlled? So the next question is, why the government doesn't make it to zero? Why can't prices stay the same? And why central bank doesn't make inflation to zero then? To understand this, first we will have to see what deflation is. Imagine every year prices of products are decreasing as compared to previous year. This is nothing but deflation. It is exactly opposite of inflation. Seems interesting, right? If the prices of the products are decreasing every year, how good it be? No, deflation is actually not good for the growth of economy. What happens here is, when the prices of products are decreasing every year, people will start delaying their purchases to save some more money in order to buy same products at a cheaper price next year. So the money will not flow into the economy freely, people will buy less, and as a result the demand is decreased and hence the production will also decrease. Decrease in production also leads to decrease in wages and decrease in employment, which will in turn leave less money in the hands of people, and eventually people will spend less. So this becomes a vicious cycle, decreasing the GDP of an entire economy. So deflation is surely not good for the growth of economy. Then is the inflation good for economy? The answer is yes and no. In a developed country, inflation is recommended to be 2%. And for a developing country like India, inflation is recommended to be 4%. But in India, it is around 6 to 7%. So the question is, why inflation is good? It's for the same reason as to why deflation is not good and inflation is good for the growth of economy. When the prices are increasing every year, people will not postpone their purchases in order to save money, and hence spending will increase. Increased spending will create increase in demand, and hence production will increase, in turn increasing the wages and the number of employments, which will leave more money in the hands of people, and people will then again spend more. So this will create a virtuous cycle which leads to the growth of an economy. But inflation is only good up to a certain limit, above which increase in inflation is not good for the growth of an economy. Therefore, government will take few steps to keep inflation in control. For example, when government increases interest rates and taxes, this will lead to less money in the hands of people, so they will spend less and the demand is in control, and hence the inflation is reduced to some extent. Another way is government will start spending more. So when the government spends more money comes into circulation, which will lead to more money in the hands of people. This will lead to inflation. And also, when the government prints more currency notes, we have already seen how it leads to inflation. These are few ways the government will control the inflation, and this was all about inflation. Please like, share, subscribe for more such content.